But on the front of the iPhone 4S, you have that 3.5-inch IPS panel, which I think at that time was really impressive. And even thinking back now, I mean, this was like a solid phone back then. And thinking about it now, like imagine somebody using this phone still. I'm sure there's still some people who use it, but that's few and far between. I don't think there's a lot of people using it right now. And that's something that's super impressive that Apple was able to make a phone back then that feels as premium as this thing, that was as premium as this thing. And it still holds up when you hold this thing and you feel it. It still looks and feels extremely good, which is something I really do like about these devices. Now you have a lot of bezel around it. I want to argue that probably the amount of bezel on this phone is bigger than the screen itself, which, that's kind of funny to say. And you do have that home button on the front, which Apple is still making on some phones with the iPhone SE2 and apparently with the iPhone SE2 Plus whenever that comes out. So those things are super, super interesting to me. On the bottom, you have that 30-pin connector, the old one, basically the original iPhone charger, which I think is pretty funny. And on the back, you have that glass back, and that is so important for me to say. Apple went from a period, I think from after this phone, the iPhone 5, it didn't have a full glass back. It had a little bit of glass on the top and bottom, and we didn't get another glass back iPhone until the iPhone 8, 8 Plus, and iPhone 10. So they went several years without another glass back. This was the last glass back iPhone for many years, which is very insane to me. So the build quality of this iPhone was insane. And I would argue it was probably one of the best built iPhones ever. When you still hold this thing, it feels so good. And the fact that it came out in 2011, I can't think of a lot of devices that are 9 years old that hold up as well as this thing. I mean, I just can't think of that many. I'm trying to think. It's just so crazy. I think of a lot of tablets back in 2011, a lot of phones that came out in 2011. I think the Note 2 came out then and the Galaxy S2. This phone completely demolished all those phones just based off the build quality, let alone the software updates, which this thing just got last year. So on top of that glass back, you do have that single camera setup, which is an 8 megapixel sensor, which is pretty impressive. So